Alright, welcome to the next installment of Miller's Classroom. Today we're going to be trying to knock out the principles of the Constitution in under 5 minutes. Ready, set, let's go. Alright, the first principle of the U.S. Constitution would be called popular sovereignty. If you remember what sovereignty was, it meant that the government is all-powerful or has power over its own borders. Well, this means that if we're throwing popular in front of it, the power rests with the people, okay, not the actual government, okay? Which means that government can only govern with the consent of the governed. Okay, now there's a lot of govs in there, okay? But the government only has its power because we give it its power. Principle number 2, limited government. That means the government's not all-powerful and has to obey the law and the Constitution. That brings with it two other concepts. Number 1, constitutionalism, meaning that if it's not in the Constitution, the U.S. government can't do it. And number 2, rule of law. The government and the government officials that are part of it are never above the law. Okay? That's why presidents can be impeached and found guilty of certain crimes, which would have happened to Nixon, but he had a stroke and was pardoned. That's whole other matter entirely. But basically, they're not all powerful. They have to answer to something. Alright, principle number 3, separation of powers. That means that the entire government isn't all held in one body. It's separated into 3 different branches. If you remember from the first video, those branches are judicial, legislative, and executive. Okay? And all 3 branches do different things. Now here's the thing. They're not all independent. Okay? The founders didn't want that. The people that framed the Constitution didn't want that. Alright? Because if you made them completely independent of one another, that means that one branch could probably gain power over the others. Instead, they're all semi-dependent on each other. Okay? They need all the other branches working together to get things done. Okay? That was intentional. So they had to rely on each other, and that's a system called checks and balances. And what you know what? Our 4th principle of the U.S. Constitution would be checks and balances. Alright? The system put in place so that the 3 branches of government had to depend on each other to get things done. That way one branch could gain power over all the other branches. Alright? Now, if you look at a detailed map that I'll provide later on in class, you can see just how many checks and balances there are. And it's designed to be that way so that they have to rely on each other and compromise. Okay? So that really kind of the middle ground is the ground that carries the day. Not one side over the other. Okay? And it's intended for compromise and no conflict to get things to happen, which is kind of ironic because it's not working now. Principle number 5, judicial review. Okay? This principle of the U.S. Constitution lies in one branch of government, the judicial power, and basically the judicial branch in the court system, primarily the Supreme Court, gets to decide whether or not actions that the government commit are constitutional. That's right. They get to decide whether or not any laws or actions or bills or anything like that fall under the realm of the Constitution, which means that they get to decide what the Constitution means. And finally, number 6, federalism. Okay, the 6th principle of the U.S. Constitution is what we call federalism. Okay, as you well know, we have the national government in D.C. Okay, if you've ever been to the nation's capital, that's kind of where they go. That's the national government, or what we call the federal government. Okay, but all the states in the country also have their own governments too. Okay, and we call those state governments. And you probably know that we have several local governments too. So what federalism is saying is that the power of the government in the United States is divided, okay, between the federal level and the state level and local level. Okay, so not one area controls all the power in the country. Okay, and that's what we're going to be talking about more in our next video. Hope you enjoyed it. See you later.